Hello. We are Listen In, the music sharing live stream and podcast where we share songs you might not have heard already and hopefully will like when you hear them. Uh, I'm going to be sharing with you today a band called Penny and Sparrow. They are a singer songwriter duo made up of Andy Baxter and Kyle Junk. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. From Austin, Texas, first formed in 2011. Their sound was originally inspired by artists such as Bon Iver, The Swell Season, and Mumford and Sons, but have since developed their own unique sound and have steadily released albums and EPs with a constantly evolving set of influences and palette changes. The song that I bring you today, Recuerda, was from their highly regarded album Finch, which was written during their first major break from the road in years. In content, it explores a reckoning and awakening from the perceptions of masculinity, sex, religion, friendship, and self that they had received growing up in the Deep South, a result of how touring as a band took them outside the bubble they grew up in. The album was also the first time the band had written and recorded remotely, a decision they made in order to spend as much time as possible with their family, given that Kyle lives in Austin, Texas, and Andy lives in Florence, Alabama. They say it was a freeing process and allowed them to take their time and work in a way that was comfortable, to trust their own instincts, and to be able to hear the work from the other when they were sharing with fresh ears and no preconceptions. The album is titled Finch, as a nod to Charles Darwin, who developed his theory of evolution in part by studying the changes that manifested over time in groups of birds that moved to different islands across the Galapagos. Quoting Andy Baxter, we changed islands, and that in turn changed us in some truly beautiful ways. I hope this song will also change you in some truly beautiful ways. Here's Recuerda by Penny and Sparrow. Let's take a listen.
Just go running in an open swing. Bury me underneath the tongue of some poet you're thinking of. Recuerda, recuerda. We'll see. Cradle my cheek. Corazón y suerte. You tell me now. You are devout in a way that comes. I'll be a bloodhound. Remember. Choose happy now, happy now, 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 now. Oh, we can choose happy now, 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 now. Oh, now, 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 now. So there will come a run of loving someone. It's a kind of singing, but bilingual now. Be learning how we can all swap mouths. Come lay your head down. Remember, 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 remember. You sleep with an accent. You murmur out it. I listen you talk. I memorize all I can hold. Summer song, but my stomach did memory follow. So I'll say that I can recall every lip taste and shake.
Well.
That's so pretty.
I'm glad you think so.
Does
Stomach is doing somersaults.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite lines.
Does the chorus only happen once?
Is it a chorus?
Is it a
the thing.
chorus? That's a good question.
Hold
Because
on.
the lyrics on Genius, which are like, community driven,
Yeah.
has that last verse as a verse, but I think it was a bridge. But then, yeah, is there a chorus?
I'm curious because, like, I'm looking at it now, and I kind of like interpreted that section more of like a refrain.
But it doesn't
Um,
refrain.
It doesn't need to have a chorus.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. But I think it's interesting because so
Yeah.
rarely do we hear songs that don't have one.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's parts that could function as a chorus because they're
Mm-hmm.
like there's a clear verse and then there's a part that's different and then there's a verse, but like the chorus doesn't repeat, and normally you have to have a repeat for the chorus
Yeah.
to be a chorus. But
Mm-hmm.
I would say like the honey, this is it. That for me would be maybe that would be a pre-chorus, and then the chorus would be na 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 na. We can choose happy now.
Maybe.
I sing this song, so like I cover it for
Mm-hmm.
funsies when in online karaoke, so like I know it pretty well. But yeah, it's just
Hmm.
good stuff.
Yeah, I can actually kind of see that. Yeah. Because like the we can choose happy now felt like just a repeating refrain to me. The stuff before it, I can see that being like a pre-chorus. But yeah, looking at the we could choose happy now as the chorus, that makes sense to me too.
That's how I would hear it, but it doesn't repeat. So then, yeah, is it a chorus? Is I think the valid question.
Yeah.
Or is it just another section in a song that it's not following normal song sections?
Maybe the intention here was they want us to enable repeat on our music device, and then it does repeat at that point.
That is the strategy for a
Big
lot.
brain.
Yeah.
No, it's super pretty. I want to know what "you sleep with an accent" means.
Uh-huh.
Does anybody know what that means?
My interpretation of that is that this is he's singing about a romantic partner who is bilingual, is Spanish speaking as their first language, and maybe talks in their sleep and has an accent when they do, but maybe not when they talk normally.
Yeah, that was kind of my first reading.
Little specific details about a situation, but it's done really abstractly in a way that makes it really interesting.
Yeah, the lyrical structure is very contemporary in terms of like it doesn't necessarily make sense if you think about it too much, but it's pretty and poetic, and like you get details and like emotional content, and it's nice. But like as some older generations have told me, I think I shared that story before, but like songs used to have stories that you could follow from beginning to end, and now they don't anymore.
They do. It's a different genre.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I think. But I don't know. I feel like this does make sense I feel like sometimes the lyrics don't make sense upon first literal reading. And then if you put more effort into, okay, I'm trying to understand what the artist was trying to say when they wrote this, then you can get to some level of sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I see that here with these, that they're like a little bit abstract and poetic in the way that they're written. And so on first read, it's a little bit like, what does "you sleep with an accent" mean? But the more you think about it, like you both pointed out, it does come to a conclusion.
Donald Glover has this one in one of his stand-up sets. He talks about old school hip hop and how the lyrics are, I went down to the hat store and I got myself a hat.
Yeah.
Right.
And things have changed up now,
Uh-huh.
so you might have to think a little more about it. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's,
Did
Yeah.
you go to the hat store and buy yourself a hat?
I don't really like wearing hats generally, unless it's to be
Mm.
silly.
Only
Silly
silly
hats are nice.
hats.
Only silly hats. Hmm. Yeah, in terms of the lyrics, if we want to talk about that a little more, I feel like they're very intimate and romantic and very visual as well. Like the opening lyric, "My cheek, your breastbone," is like
Mhm.
so specific, and like it gives you that like intimate feeling of being with another person. And then
Mhm.
later on, there's, "I listen, you talk, I memorize all I can hold." Like I really like that line in terms of
Mhm.
communicating the sort of relationship of wanting to know everything about a person, wanting to like
Mhm.
Mhm.
obsessing about the other person, but not in like a creepy sort of way.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's yeah, it's I'm glad that you kind of like point that out, because one of my notes here was like, man, this the lyrics of this song are like so um beautiful, descriptive, poetic. But another note that I had was like, when I listen to it a little bit more, the more I feel like sometimes it feels like it's teetering on being kind of creepy. And I feel like a lot of like songs like this, you know, toe that line sometimes.
Mm,
Mhm.
Um, and sometimes it's self-aware, and,
Mhm.
and they'll play into it. I'm not going to make any claims on whether or not like this is creepy or not, but I'm just saying like there's something about like how thick the romantic atmosphere is, the sentiment of the song, the vibe, and then some of the lines, like "you sleep with an accent, you murmur, I heard it." It almost feels like you can kind of get that like it's a little creepy with like how like like how heavy the
mm.
like the romantic vibe is. Um, so if someone like came up to me and said like it's a little creepy, I was like, yeah, I kind of see it. Um, but I think I think to me like when I kind of like single out like certain lines, I can better feel the scenario or the situation that they're writing about. Uh, it feels more encompassing of something rather than just one person's point of view in a way. So yeah, I do really really like the lyrics.
It's
Mm.
interesting you say that because I feel like I am normally super critical of like romantic-y lyrics.
Mm,
And we'll definitely jump to them being creepy, but I didn't
yeah.
actually get that in this song. I
Mm,
think it's because they are so clearly specifically about one person that it
mm,
feels like a really sweetly like written it feels like something that like one person would say to another person. It's like so specific that it's this one-on-one exchange as
mm,
opposed to
mhm.
like every breath you take, which is
Right.
undeniably creepy, but
Yeah.
also kind of so
Yeah.
generic that it's
Mm,
extra creepy because you don't know who they're
Right.
talking
mm,
about. Like
Right.
it's
mm.
this very much feels like a really sweetly written
Yeah.
love letter
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
one specific person
Hmm.
from their partner.
Yeah.
Where they already know each other to the point where they have the
Mm-hmm.
implicit
Hmm.
allowance or to be able to be this specific with them.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking about being specific, I forgot to mention this when we came back. I did mention it a little bit in the chat, but we have the wrong, um, the incorrect uh, thing for the layout,
Oh
the
no!
song. Yeah.
I oh fuck. I forgot to change
Yeah.
those. Oh
Oh
no,
no,
I
we'll
made the
just do a little.
cards.
It's
Okay,
okay.
I
We'll
can
just leave
very
it.
quickly do that. No, no, no,
Don't
wait,
worry about it,
no,
Jesse.
doing it now.
Okay.
Okay,
We're
we're gonna
doing
be
it
talking
live.
about your song.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about the
Okay,
song.
okay.
This is a terrifying fish, though. Thanks for that.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
I didn't even catch that, Alexis. Thanks for pointing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Something that stood out to me was my very, 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 very first impression of the song when I first heard it, and the intro is like this really, pretty sounding. Like it's almost as if like mist is clearing in a way. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the song already exists, and like we're like at the outskirts of it, and we're just like being drawn into it.
Mm.
But something about that layering of sounds, I don't know why, it felt like I was about to watch an episode of The Last of Us. It sounded like I was uh going to be in for something a little bit more sinister. So the fact that it kind of switched up into something extremely romantic was like a whiplash moment for me. But there is like this, I don't know, this sort of like mysterious kind of like unsettling little quality to the beginning first little 2 seconds of the song. I was like, is this The Last of Us?
I didn't catch that at all. It's really
Hmm.
interesting that you say that. Because I heard the start of it and it was like, and maybe you're talking about 2 seconds before I actually like tuned in to start
Hmm.
listening to the song.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, I'm putting this on my Easy Breezy Sunshine Vibes playlist,
Mm-hmm.
which is a playlist that exists. Um, and this feels like it has that similar sound. It's like a more subdued version, but like the Numcha that I brought, I think last season,
Mm-hmm.
it's got that kind of guitar sound to it to me that's like, oh, I'm like swaying on a breeze in a hammock
Yeah,
after I had a nice big meal at a picnic and it's
for
sunny
sure.
outside.
Hmm.
That's where I went.
Yeah. I feel like perhaps I'm just experiencing like residual anxiety from having experienced The Last of Us.
And
So
I have never
and
seen The
yeah,
Last of Us, so maybe I'm just missing the
Yeah.
connection.
I've
yeah.
never seen it either. I want to, but I have very little time.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
uh, Speaking of that sound, I'm not sure what that sort of like metallic droning sound is. I was thinking like maybe it's a saw.
Mm,
Um,
could be.
but I'm not familiar enough to like know. Like, do either of you have guesses?
What do
I was
you
thinking it was a Saw as well, and like I think that's the reason why like Last of Us came to mind, is because in the soundtrack they use like a Saw sort of thing for a lot of the ambiance sort of stuff. So yeah.
Mm,
I didn't catch what you're talking
yeah.
about, so I'll have to
That,
listen to it again.
yeah. Like during the
Can
sort
you
of
press play
droning.
again? It's the
I
very start,
could. I
right?
can very
Do
Yeah.
it.
well do that.
Do it. Do it.
That part.
It's
And
kind of like
then towards the
gnarled.
end, we also have
I think it's just a synth.
the
Me, I
end.
thought that
The end
was
one's a
prob-
synth. Okay.
I feel like
Yeah, no, it's a
maybe
synth.
it's a guitar through guitar pedals.
Maybe.
Mm,
That's what I'm thinking.
The
mm,
ending made me think of the chimes at like some church clocks.
Hmm.
maybe.
Or like clock chimes. That's kind of the do is
Oh.
kind of the tune that
Mhm.
they do. There was one in town in my college town, and so I got really used to hearing it all the time, and that's what that made me think of.
Mm. Although
Um,
bringing up the ending, sorry, keep going.
no, go ahead.
Right. I think it's really interesting. Like, there's a lot of outro, but then you hear sort of like noises, background noises,
Mhm.
as if they're like the band's packing up, and then
Mm.
just this
Mm.
last person with this like synth tone is just like staying there,
Yeah.
keep playing.
Haunting the venue.
Yeah.
Huh.
Which is, it brings like a sort of like melancholy loneliness, I
Yeah.
think, to it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or it's like the band is packing up and allowing the couple to have their alone time.
Aw,
Oh.
sweet.
You wanted to spin it for a happier vibe.
Yeah.
And maybe
And then
those
they
are like church bells, like wedding bells.
Hey, baby, me, you, and a saw.
and then
The
the other
title
one
of
look
this episode, thank you.
and then they the other one looks to the other one and they're like, I guess we really are the last of us. Sorry.
That's what
Pretty good.
happens.
That's
Uh-huh, that's what happens.
good. Yeah.
You figured it out.
We're connecting the universes
Cracked
together.
the code.
Uh.
Um, but yeah, I think to kind of like um go off with what Kay was saying about like what vibe she got and like what kind of music she would pair with it. For me, I don't know why, and I'm probably alone on this, but something about this song, its vibe and its musical presentation reminded me a little bit of Civil Wars, and I
Mhm.
feel like they would work so well together
Yeah.
on a playlist. Like I really wanted to just like immediately deep dive deep into uh Penny and Sparrow's music and find the ones that I want to put into a playlist with Civil Wars because I felt like they would fit so well together.
Yeah, I love that band too. So that's
Mhm.
very much my jam.
I'm
Makes
so
a lot of
sad they
sense.
broke up before I moved.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, before we wrap up, I do want to talk about production a little bit. That
Mhm.
like
Mm.
I thought they like I said in my intro, like they put a lot of effort into the production here, and I think it really shows, and like it's
Mhm.
masterful. I think even with like the stereo separation of the instruments, like it's laid out in the soundscape like you're live and listening to the band, um which sometimes irritates me if it's like, oh, the guitar is only on this side and not on that side. I'm like,
Mhm.
but everything is so well blended together but also like present, and nothing is like, blurred out. Nothing's falling by the wayside. It's just like it's there if you listen for it. It's not there if you don't, if you're trying to just like chill out, which is like perfect for me.
Mhm.
No disagreement here.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I put it out there. Done.
Nor do I have anything to add. No, I think it was like sometimes things are done so well that they feel natural that it's hard to notice them.
Mm,
Mhm.
And that's what this felt like to me,
Mhm.
that like it all, you're right, it was all so smooth that.
Mhm.
And I was kind of listening closely, although I was a little distracted by the "you sleep with an accent" line and trying to figure out the vibe. But yeah, I still didn't really catch it. I do want to give I did want to mention though that I really love his voice. And I,
mhm,
Mhm.
I listened to this earlier today first, and it was like not in headphones. And I was like, oh, this is pretty enough, but I really appreciated it hearing it in headphones. Some of the little like it wasn't a lot of them, but some of the little like turns and things that he would do vocally just gave it a little bit of flavor in such a
mm,
pretty way.
Mm.
It
yeah.
really calming and
Mhm.
nice to listen to.
Sometimes he's like breathy and like
Hmm.
sultry, and then I really like when he goes into his lower register. No, 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 no. It's like a little darker down
Hmm.
there.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like really, really good.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think the production is staggeringly beautiful, and that was something that I noticed immediately. And something that I really appreciate was how they achieved how beautiful this production is and the mixing without. eh, Let me take a step back. I love the choices they made with how they produced and mixed the vocals in particular because um with how like well everything sounds together and everything, um the way they managed to make the vocals sound so intimate and not feel like they're kind of on top of everything in a
Mm,
way, I felt like I was really wrapped
Hmm.
around the vocals in a way, and it really conveyed that feeling like it's as though this person is talking to me, and
Hmm.
it and I
mm,
feel like I'm not engaging with a song in
mm,
a way. um so I really loved that execution, how they took this really, really intimate song and allowed that character to stay intimate without, it feeling too overproduced in a way. So yeah, like the work done on it is incredible.
Do you sleep with an accent, Alexis?
I sleep and I have like this thing floating over my head like a Sims jewel, but it's actually just like a little line that that's like the accent line like over an A.
They were singing to you. It's
So
like Z's with little accent marks on them.
So yeah, it's a it is a medical condition, and I probably should get it checked out.
I sleep with an umlaut.
An umlaut?
I don't sleep.
I think we're done with this.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next song. Let's go.
Cool.